Okay, well, bold prediction for 2023. I didn't really know where to start for this one, so I kind of just started looking up and down the standings and thinking about teams who could make the playoffs or teams who might fall out of the playoffs, who are, typically supposed to be there. So that's kind of what I did. And in the spirit of this episode, I didn't go easy with this one. I picked a pretty unlikely one, a pretty bold prediction, but I truly think it could happen. I'm going to pick the New York Rangers, the team who went to the Eastern Conference Final last year, to miss the playoffs in 2023. It's pretty bold, but let me give you some numbers, and you let me know what you
Hold
think.
on. I gotta say, just quickly, this was my backup.
Oh, no way.
I almost went with this, and I thought it would be too petty if I did it. So I'm glad someone's gone here.
I mean, hey, listen, I was on record last year saying that this team, they're just frauds because their shooting percentage was through the roof, their expected goals, they were scoring way more than they were generating, and they were getting incredible goaltending, and those are kind of some of the numbers that I want to talk about. But I called them frauds on the podcast multiple times, and this year it's kind of looking like maybe that's the case. So picking the New York Rangers to miss the playoffs. Rangers fans are going to hate me for this, but Money Puck currently has them sitting with a 47% chance to make the playoffs, despite currently sitting in a wild card spot with 46 points in 38 games played. The thing with that is Pittsburgh is 2 games back right now, so they have 2 games in hand, and they have just 2 fewer points. New York is currently 7th in points percentage in the East, but if I'm looking at the playoff picture right now, and that's kind of what I started this thought for me. I think if 4 teams make the playoffs from the Metro, that is, and that's assuming that another team in the Atlantic is able to claim that second wildcard spot. But, we can get into that conversation. But if 4 teams make it, I think it'll be Carolina, New Jersey, Washington, and Pittsburgh. I think they just have all been better this season and more consistent for the most part.
That Metro's insane, man. They're all so tight.
The Metro is insane. And so then if 5 teams make it from the Metro, which is a real possibility because the Atlantic is kind of, again, it's one of those things where it's a tale of 2 divisions within one. It's like the top 3 and then everybody else because Florida took a step back this year. But if 5 teams make it, I think it'll be Carolina, New Jersey, Washington, Pittsburgh, and then one of the New York Islanders or the New York Rangers. And personally, I can just get behind the Islanders easier than I can get behind the Rangers, for a lot of reasons. But like I said, this bold prediction, the Rangers missing the playoffs, kind of hinges on either the Islanders being better than the Rangers or an Atlantic team like Detroit or Florida sneaking into that second wild card spot. So a couple of reasons why I think that, or why I'm not really high on the Rangers, is first their goaltending. It's been subpar this year compared to what it was last year. Not saying it's been bad, but Igor, he's still top 10 in goals saved above expected, but last year he was first by a country mile. It wasn't even close. And this year he's been, he's kind of showed that he can be average on nights. He can get beat, he can put up a 4 spot, 5 spot, and it's not, he's a human, so it happens. Whereas New York, with the Islanders, Ilya Sorokin has been the best or the second best goalie in the league this year, depending on who you ask. I think if you ask Bruins fans, they'll tell you it's Linus Ullmark. But yeah, Sorokin has been incredible this year, second in goals saved above expected, and Varlamov is giving good backup starts for the Islanders, whereas Halak has been below average in every game he's played this year. So goaltending, I think, is a key issue for the Rangers. Another key issue is their power play. It's not carrying them anymore. Last year, they had the 4th best power play in the NHL. This year, they currently are 15th. Last year, as we know, Kreider scored, I think it was 50% of his goals on the power play, and he scored 52 goals. Right now, he's only on pace for about 35, and I think the power play is a big reason for that. Third reason why I'm not totally sold on the Rangers this year, I mean, aside from the fact that they're scratching Alexis Lafreniere and not playing their good players enough, but they're just not scoring way more goals than expected this season like they were last season, which I think indicates some regression to the mean. So there's a lot of reasons why I'm not completely sold on the Rangers. Those are a few of them. What do you think of my bold prediction, guys, that they missed the playoffs this year?
I think that a good team in the Metro is going to miss the playoffs. I'm not going to say that the Rangers are a bad team. They are a good team, but I think that they might be it. You gave a lot of good reasons there. One that I read that you didn't mention is that I was checking it out, and they have the most challenging or most difficult schedule remaining in the season currently out of the whole league. I think six or seven of the top 10 were Atlantic teams. So smells like a 2 wildcard Metro happening. But yeah, the Rangers have the most challenging schedule remaining. And I don't know. It was another one of those. I looked at the standings. I just had a couple gut reactions come to me. I said I could see the Rangers not making it, and I would have went in more depth if it wouldn't be so petty. So I can believe this.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you mentioned the tough schedule, like, that makes sense now that I look at Money Puck's projections. Has them at 40%, 47% chance making the playoffs, where it has Pittsburgh and Washington, other teams in the Metro. Pittsburgh currently behind New York as making the playoffs. Not because their points percentage is better, but probably because they have easier matchups going forward. So that's a good point I didn't really think of. But yeah, guys, you guys know, I mean, Casey and I have both never been sold on this team, even though they were pretty good last year. But, man, actually, though, Case, I do want to say, I think you picked them to win the Metro this year, didn't you? Over Carolina? Didn't we have that argument?
Yeah, I think I did, but I've backpedaled hard since then. The decor and the goaltending has not lived up to my expectations, and that's significantly taken a hit on their standings in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly didn't have the Rangers at the top of the Metro. I had the Carolina Hurricanes, who, of course, are firing on all cylinders right now. What's their win streak at? 11 games now in a row, I think, at 10 or 11?
I think they're like
something
15,
like
0-1 in their last 16 or something. Like something crazy like that.
It's better than that. They're 11 wins in a row, and they have points in their last 17 games.
That's insane.
Yeah, just ridiculous. But look, I like this. I think that this is very possible. Case, like you said, a good team out of that division, whoever it is going to miss the playoffs because it's so tight, which is just great. It's been one of the best divisions the last couple of years in the NHL. But this has been a very up and down hockey team, and I would go as far as saying that Gerard Gallant could be on the hot seat here if things don't get more consistent, and if, of course, they miss the playoffs. Chris Drury is not going to be a happy camper after making a Final Four appearance, last season. And I think that the biggest thing for me is that Shesterkin was so unbelievably good that he covered up a lot of problems on this team, and I think that those are starting to show. Panarin does not look the same. He's really struggled, and I look at the forward group and the defense as well, and I do think in both parts there's a lack of depth there. I find them very top heavy. Those first two lines in the forward group, that fourth line, I think they get caved in a lot in their own zone. And then on the back end as well, just guys that, are good players, don't get me wrong, but the point production is just not there, and it can't all be up to one guy in Adam Fox. So, I just think that there are a variety of different reasons, but this team kind of fooled everybody last year. Frauds, as you said, Chad, and I think the biggest is that Shesterkin covered up a lot of blemishes. Yaroslav Halak just doesn't have it anymore. He's getting up there in age, and I think it would have really helped them to get a more solid backup option for Shesterkin. But then again, how can you not look at the goaltending and be like, well, Shesterkin's just going to follow up last year and in this season, and he's been really hard on himself too. And I just think that a lot of things went the right way for them last year, and it covered up a lot of problems for this team. And I think that those issues are starting to show.
For sure. And I don't want to say that Shesterkin's been bad by any means this season. He just hasn't been world beater good every single night. Like I said, he's currently still in the top 10 in goals saved above expected, which, as you guys know, is my favorite stat for goalies, but he just has had some off nights, whereas last year it seems like that wasn't, like, he wasn't capable of having an off night. And also, just, you know, as we're rounding out this conversation, I do want to play devil's advocate a bit against myself, against my bold prediction, and just say, like, you know, there's one stat that kind of stood out to me a bit, and it tells me that they're playing a bit of a quieter game this year, not allowing or generating as many high danger scoring chances. So that was the stat that kind of jumped out to me. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do make the playoffs, but like Casey, you said, a good team is going to miss the playoffs, and I just think it really could be the Rangers this year for all the reasons that we've mentioned.
Yeah, and they are one stat I found interesting looking across Money Puck. I didn't know this one existed, guys, but I saw they're leading the league in expected headshots above average.
I knew that was going to be stupid. Even without Ryan Reeves.
Oh. Yeah, I know. Well, Jacob Trouba's, picking up the slack there.
Yeah, what did Athanasiou say? He's the $8 million man who doesn't have a goal this year, something like that. God.